When I opened the door to the house, a light cool breeze enveloped me, bringing the smell of the dinner that Amanda had prepared. The day was long and tiring, filled with exhausting meetings and tight deadlines. I just wanted to relax next to her, forget about work worries and enjoy my wife's company. But upon entering, an unexpected scene stopped me in my tracks. Amanda was sitting at the table, laughing and talking animatedly with Kelly, my best friend. The two were so close that it seemed like they were sharing intimate secrets. Kelly leaned in close to Amanda, and for a moment I felt like an intruder, like I was watching a moment that wasn't meant for me. "Hi, love," Amanda exclaimed, her smile lighting up the room. "You are early." "Hi, girls," I replied, trying to hide my surprise. "What are they doing?" "Just chatting and having some fun," Kelly said, winking at me. "You know how we are, always enjoying life." The atmosphere was light and relaxed, but a small discomfort began to form inside me. I couldn't help but notice the intimacy between them. I sat at the table, and while Amanda served me, Kelly started talking about things that seemed harmless, but somehow kept me alert. "Have you thought about trying some new experiences, Amanda?" Kelly suggested, with a mischievous smile. "Sometimes spicing up your relationship can be exactly what you and Lucas need." "New experiences," Amanda repeated, thoughtfully. "What do you mean by that?" You know, exploring new horizons, breaking out of your routine." "Sometimes a little daring can do wonders," Kelly replied, laughing. "You've been together for so long, it's normal for things to get a little monotonous." I forced myself to laugh, but the feeling that there was something more behind the conversation made me uneasy. "Amanda and I are fine, aren't we?" I asked, looking at my wife. "Right, honey?" "Of course, love." "We're great," Amanda said, but her gaze flickered away for a moment, as if she had something on her mind that she didn't want to share. The evening continued with casual conversations and laughter, but the seed of doubt had been planted. When I finally went to bed, the image of Amanda and Kelly together wouldn't leave my head. The way Kelly hinted at those new experiences echoed in my thoughts, and an uneasiness began to form in my chest. The following week, my routine continued normally, but the feeling of distrust did not leave me. Amanda and Kelly continued to see each other frequently, and on a few occasions I noticed that Amanda seemed more distant. The cell phone messages she exchanged were quick and discreet, but the weight of uncertainty consumed me. I needed to know what was going on. One afternoon, while Amanda was in the shower, I picked up her cell phone from the living room table. My heart sank when I saw there was a message notification. Curiosity got the best of me, and in a moment of weakness, I decided to look. With my hands shaking, I unlocked the device and started scrolling through the messages. What I found made my stomach turn. Messages that seemed like much more than simple conversations between friends. "I knew you would love it. Shall we meet again?" one message read, and Amanda's response left no doubt, "I'm looking forward to it." The feeling of betrayal hurt like a knife. Heat rose to my face as I tried to process what I had just discovered. What was happening between them? My heart raced, and a wave of conflicting emotions washed over me: anger, sadness, confusion. As soon as Amanda got out of the shower, I felt like I was in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. The words I needed to say were on the tip of my tongue, but at that moment, I didn't know if I was ready to face the truth. When I got home that night, my heart was still beating fast. The messages on Amanda's cell phone were burning in my mind like white-hot embers. Just a misunderstanding, I thought, but Kelly's words echoed in my head, like a constant lament, making me question everything. I took a deep breath before opening the door, deciding it was time to face Amanda. She was in the living room, sitting on the sofa. The soft light from the lamp illuminated her delicate face, but there was something in her gaze that made me uneasy. "Hi, love. How was your day?" he asked, his soft voice contrasting with the storm that was brewing inside me. "Can we talk?" I asked, trying to control the trembling in my voice. Upon noticing the seriousness of my expression, she nodded and turned completely towards me. Of course, what happened? I felt the weight of the words in my throat. I found some messages on your cell phone, messages that don't seem like just conversations between friends. The silence that followed was deafening, and I could see his face change subtly, a shadow of worry crossing his eyes. Lucas, this is a misunderstanding. You know how close I am with Kelly. Sometimes we say things that can seem different. But what do you mean by different? Amanda, you were talking about things that have nothing to do with our relationship. Frustration consumed me. I promise there's nothing going on. Kelly is just a friend who encourages me to try new things, but that doesn't mean I want anything outside of our relationship. She looked into my eyes, and for a moment, I almost gave in to her sincerity. So you tell me it's all just her suggestion? That there's nothing more to it? Yes. You know I love you, Lucas. Don't let it get to you. Her words sounded right, but doubt still tormented me. After that conversation, I went to my office and started investigating further. With each click, each search, a new layer of distrust accumulated. I discovered that Kelly was no ordinary friend. She had a history of manipulating relationships, always instigating betrayal, like a conductor at a dissonant concert. It was as if each fact fitted into a dark puzzle. Kelly was always around Amanda, always suggesting new experiences, as if she wanted Amanda to stay away from me. What the hell was going on? In the days that followed, I noticed that Amanda was becoming more distant. Conversations that were once full of laughter and confidences were now cold and superficial. Sometimes, when she thought I wasn't paying attention, she would pull out her phone and quickly change the screen, as if she were hiding something. Distrust grew like a shadow, and I could no longer ignore it. One night, while we were having dinner, I decided to bring up the subject. Amanda, you've been acting strange lately. Everything is good between us? She hesitated, the fork stopping in midair. Of course. You're just thinking too much, love. Sometimes things change, but that doesn't mean what we have isn't real. But Kelly. I can't stop thinking about her. She's a bad influence, and it seems like you're pulling away from me because of her. Amanda got angry, crossing her arms. You're being paranoid, Lucas. Kelly is just my friend, and I am a grown woman capable of making my own decisions. That hurt me, and a feeling of helplessness came over me. How could he confront the woman he loved without looking like a madman? Insecurity and doubt became my daily life. Amanda was distancing herself, and I didn't know how to get her back. What I didn't realize was that each step took me closer to the truth I feared so much. Meanwhile, Kelly, with her treacherous smile, continued to weave her web around us, tighter and tighter. My heart felt heavy, as if an anchor was attached to it, when I decided to hire a private detective. The idea that my wife, Amanda, might be cheating on me was a burden I could no longer bear. I needed answers, and the more time passed, the more my mind filled with despair. The detective, a man of ordinary appearance but with a discerning eye, promised that he would bring me the truth. That afternoon, as I waited for him in a cafe near the office, my mind was lost in memories. I remembered the happy moments we had, the laughs, the plans. But the shadow of doubt always imposed itself. When the detective arrived, his serious expression immediately put me on alert. Lucas, I have some information, he began, taking a sip of coffee before continuing. I did what you asked me to do. Amanda is meeting a man. They have been seeing each other regularly. Those words cut like a knife. Are you sure about that? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, but the emotion betrayed me. Yes. I have photos and records of the meetings. They are meeting in a hotel in the city, away from prying eyes, he said, handing me a folder with the evidence. When I opened it, I saw images of Amanda, laughing and talking intimately with another man. My stomach turned. Who is he? I asked, almost unable to breathe. Unfortunately, I couldn't identify it. But I can investigate further if I need to. I nodded, feeling like I didn't need any more details. What I had was devastating enough. No, that's enough, I replied, trying to compose myself. Thanks. That day turned into a whirlwind of emotions. Anger and sadness mixed together, and part of me wanted to confront Amanda immediately, but the other part knew I needed a plan. I couldn't let her see how much this affected me. I needed to be strong. That night, when Amanda got home, I tried to act normal. She was radiant, as always, and greeted me with a soft kiss. "Hey love. How was your day?" he asked, the innocence in his voice contrasting with the storm brewing inside me. "It was tiring, but it was okay." "And you?" I replied, trying to maintain my composure. "Oh, I worked a little and then went for coffee with Kelly," she said, looking away for a moment. The mention of Kelly made my blood boil. This woman, who called herself my friend, was the same one who had suggested Amanda look for new experiences. "And did you have a lot of fun?" I asked, forcing a smile. "Clear. We always have fun," Amanda replied, without noticing the gulf forming between us. I couldn't take it anymore. A few hours later, I decided to confront Kelly. "We need to talk," I said when I met her at her apartment. She smiled, but I couldn't return it. "Hi Lucas." "What there was?" he asked, with an expression that mixed curiosity and nonchalance. "I know what you did. I know you influenced Amanda to betray me," I said, anger brimming in my voice. Kelly laughed, but it was an empty laugh. "You're exaggerating, Lucas. Amanda is a grown woman. She decided to follow this path. Your marriage was boring, and I only encouraged you to explore new possibilities." "New possibilities? You destroyed what we had. How can you be so insensitive? Look, her friendship with me is much more important than a marriage that was already on the brink. You need to understand this," she replied, with a coldness that left me speechless. I left there with a lump in my throat, feeling like I was losing the battle. That night, as I stared at the ceiling, I realized I couldn't live this lie any longer. The love I had for Amanda was turning into a burning desire for justice. I would start planning my divorce, determined to leave Amanda with nothing. The silence in the house seemed to echo the decision I was making, and I knew that from that moment on, nothing would be the same as before. The sun was already setting when I arrived at the lawyer's office. The yellowish light that came through the windows seemed to reflect my internal anguish, but I needed to remain firm. As soon as I entered, I was greeted by a man in a dark suit, who greeted me with a firm handshake. His gaze was serious, but I could see a faint glint of understanding in his expression. "Lucas, right? Let's sit down and discuss how we can proceed." I sat down, feeling the weight of the last few weeks pressing down on my shoulders. "I just want her to get nothing," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Our whole life together was built with a lot of effort, and I don't want her to get away with everything she did." "I understand your position," replied the lawyer, taking notes. "We need to collect concrete evidence of her betrayal and behavior. Do you have something in mind?" I remembered the messages I found, the look in Amanda's eyes when I confronted her, and the way Kelly stepped between us. "Yes, I have some friends who can testify to the change in her behavior. Kelly could be a key player in this." The lawyer nodded, resting his head on one hand as he reflected. "That might be useful. We're going to need everything you can muster. Any conversation, any detail that could show that she didn't deserve what she built." The conversation continued and, with each word, I felt more determined. After the meeting, I went to a bar where I used to meet friends. I met Marcelo, an old acquaintance who always had a critical eye on relationships. "What are you doing, Lucas? Everything is fine?" he asked, noticing my heavy countenance. "No, it's not. Amanda. She betrayed me. And I'm trying to make sure she doesn't take anything we built together. I need evidence, witnesses, anything. Marcelo frowned thoughtfully. She's with Kelly, isn't she? I heard rumors. People talk, you know. Can I help you? I'll talk to some mutual friends and see what they know. I thanked him, feeling light knowing that I wasn't alone in this. The thirst for justice began to consume me, and I dedicated myself to collecting every fragment of pain and betrayal. Over time, I was able to gather a group of friends who were willing to talk. What they revealed only increased my determination. Meanwhile, in a corner of the city, Amanda was at a party with Kelly and her lover. I had no idea she was so carefree. That image of happiness and contempt only motivated me even more. She doesn't know what's coming, I muttered to myself as I looked at the photos a friend had sent me. Amanda, with a wide smile, toasting a glass of wine. What she didn't know was that I was just a few steps away from exposing everything. You're going to do it, aren't you? Asked Marcelo, when meeting me in a cafe the next morning. I could see the concern in his eyes. Are you sure this is what you want? More than anything, I replied, my voice firm. I can't let her destroy me and still get away with it. If she wants to live this life, then let her live the consequences. Determination grew inside me like an unquenchable fire. Every conversation, every testimony, every fact I gathered was like a brick building a wall between me and betrayal. Over time, I learned that Amanda and Kelly were planning a new outing, a trip they planned to take. What they didn't know was that I was ready to unmask them. The idea that they could be having fun while I was fighting to regain my dignity made me angrier. This will end, I said to myself, looking out the window as the city lights began to glow in the twilight. And I will be the one to emerge victorious. Adrenaline was running through my veins, and I knew I was getting closer and closer to delivering the final blow. All I needed was a moment. A moment to expose the truth and finally bring justice for everything that had happened. The day of the hearing was approaching and, despite all my attempts to remain calm, anxiety consumed me. I felt the weight of Amanda's betrayal like an anchor, pulling me down. When I finally managed to muster the courage to confront her with the evidence, I didn't know what to expect. That morning, as I looked in the mirror, every line on my face seemed to scream the truth I had kept inside. The reflection I saw was of a man wounded, but determined to free himself. When I entered the apartment, the smell of fresh coffee and the sound of the radio in the background almost made me hesitate. Amanda was in the kitchen, her back to me, stirring a pot. The gentle movement of his hands reminded me of the happy times we once had together, but that nostalgia was quickly overshadowed by the memory of betrayal. "Hi Lucas. You're early today," she said, without turning around. The voice sounded light, almost carefree, and it irritated me deeply. "We need to talk, Amanda," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady, but the tension in my throat almost betrayed me. She turned around, her confused expression quickly turning into something more defensive. "About what? What happened?" "About us. About Kelly. And about the messages I found." I pulled my cell phone out of my pocket, holding it like a gun. "You know what I'm talking about." Her gaze changed. Confusion gave way to fear. "Lucas, wait. I can explain." The words came out in a rush, but I wasn't willing to listen. "There's nothing to explain, Amanda. You betrayed me. I have everything here." I showed the cell phone screen, where the messages were a cruel testimony to the truth I already knew. Her expression fell, and a wave of disbelief washed over her face. "This is not what it seems. I was just looking for some fun, something I don't have with you." Her voice sounded almost pleading, but I didn't give in. "Fun? Did you destroy our marriage for fun? And Kelly? She had a role in all of this, didn't she?" I asked, anger boiling inside me. Amanda lowered her head, shame evident. "I didn't know how to deal with all this, deal with what? With your dissatisfaction? With your friends suggesting that you delve into a world of betrayal? I will not accept this. I'm here to put an end to this lie. The determination in my voice made her shiver. The divorce hearing was a whirlwind of emotions. Sitting next to my lawyer, I watched Amanda as she tried to stand her ground, but it was clear that the weight of the evidence was consuming her. When our lawyer began to lay out every detail, every message, every encounter, the silence in the room seemed deafening. Amanda's expression became increasingly pale, and I felt a mixture of revenge and relief. "How can you do this to me?" she whispered, her gaze turning to me, almost like a plea. "We were happy, Lucas. What happened? You made your choice, Amanda. I woke up to the reality you created, and now there is no going back. You wanted freedom at the expense of our marriage and now you will pay for it." The coldness in my words seemed to echo in the room, and I realized that I was finally taking control of my life. When the judge announced the decision, a wave of satisfaction washed over me. Amanda left the room in tears, and as I watched her, I felt like I was finally freeing myself from that emotional prison. I wasn't sure what the future held, but one thing was certain, I was ready to look ahead. With the divorce finalized, a new phase of my life began. I began to focus on myself and my career, but even so, memories of Amanda and Kelly still lingered like shadows in the back of my mind. It was hard to forget the betrayal, but I knew I needed to find a new purpose, something that reminded me that I was more than a victim. The road to healing would be long, but I was determined to walk it. The sun was setting, turning the sky an intense orange, when I realized it was time to act. Life, which for so long was a sea of tranquility, had now become an emotional battlefield. Kelly, Amanda's best friend, was up to something again. After the divorce, I thought I was free of her, but the truth is, she never really left my life. Over the past few months, I learned that she had her eye on a new friend of mine, Lucas. The same name, but a completely different man than me. I gathered some friends at my house, a small group of people who knew about my suffering and who were willing to help me put an end to this situation. "We need to expose Kelly," I said, as I watched expressions of agreement light up on their faces. "She can't keep manipulating people like it's a game." "How do you intend to do that?" asked my friend Felipe, somewhat skeptical but interested. "I heard she's hosting a party at her house. If we can get all our friends there, we can set a trap. Let's show everyone what she's really like," I replied, feeling the adrenaline rush through my veins. The friends agreed, and together we started planning the operation. It would be a night of revelations, an opportunity to finally end the cycle of betrayal that Kelly had started. We agreed that I would arrive later, so as not to arouse suspicion, while they would position themselves in strategic locations to capture every moment of the night. On the night of the party, the atmosphere was electric. Kelly was radiant as always, welcoming her guests with a charming smile. For a moment, I thought about how she had fooled everyone, including me. My friends were hiding in various corners of the house, ready to record everything. I entered discreetly, observing from afar. Kelly was surrounded by men, laughing and ingratiating themselves, while my new friend, Lucas, seemed completely mesmerized by her. The scene made me feel nauseous, but I knew it was time to act. "Hi Lucas," I said, approaching with a forced smile. "Are you having fun?" "Hi, man. Yes I am. Kelly here is an amazing host," he replied, not realizing the trap that was about to fall on him. "It's true," I said, looking at Kelly, who was now watching me with an expression of discomfort. "But did you know she's also a master manipulator? More than once, I've seen her wreak havoc on people's lives." Kelly's smile disappeared, and the conversation around us began to stop. The atmosphere became heavy. "What do you mean by that, Lucas?" she said, trying to maintain her pose, but her treacherous look betrayed her nervousness. "I mean you're not the friend everyone thinks you are. You're a manipulator, and your actions have consequences," I said, my voice firm. I looked around and saw the faces of my friends, all attentive, recording every word. "You can't do that. You don't know what you're talking about." Kelly screamed, but the panic in her voice was evident. "I know, yes. And today, everyone here will know too," I replied, while my friend started showing the videos and proof of her manipulation. The laughter and conversations gave way to murmurs of disbelief. "You can't just expose people like that," Kelly protested, but now her tone was desperate. "Actually, I can. And I will," I declared, as everyone began to realize Kelly's true colors. She was confronted by other victims of her manipulations, and the once festive atmosphere turned into an informal courtroom. People started booing and moving away from her. Kelly, once so self-confident, was now in disbelief, not knowing where to run. And I, in the midst of it all, finally felt a sense of relief. "Thank you, Lucas. You had courage," said a friend, hugging me. Applause began to echo throughout the room, and I realized that, finally, the cycle of betrayal had come to an end. There was no more room for lies in my life. The night ended with a feeling of justice and liberation. And, as painful as the path had been, I was finally free.